Hey everyone, this is Kush of the Game Time blog and the Video Game Review podcast, and this is part 2 of my recruiting video for NCAA Football 12. If you guys watched part 1 and sat through the whole half hour, I appreciate it. I got 3 parts to this, and they're all about a half hour each. I went through an entire season of in-season recruiting. So I'm trying to think here where we left off. I'm actually recording these on different days. I couldn't sit down and record an hour and a half straight at once. That'd be too much. So I'm trying to figure out where I'm at here, going after Ray Ferris, this fullback. If I recall, I was first place. I was number 1 on this guy's list for the first couple weeks, and all of a sudden Missouri and Illinois came out of nowhere and leapfrogged me. Now I'm sort of in panic mode trying to get this 1-star fullback, which I believe there wasn't. I think the highest rated fullback was a 2-star in this particular recruiting class. And I think I end up going after another 1-star fullback because I think this guy ends up committing to Missouri at some point. It might be after this week. But now I'm trying to go after Missouri as much as I can and see what happens there. I got a minus 16, 17, 10, and a 7. So now, let's see, 260 points behind. I got a week 6 visit coming. And actually, I don't know what week I'm in right now. I think I'm in week 4, I believe. So now Joe Elliott, quarterback, one of my needs with Tennessee, and there's 2 different quarterbacks I'm going after. So now that I got, most of the pitches I have unlocked, most of the topics rather, now that they're unlocked, I can start going after schools and start taking points away from them. And like you said, since I was first place on Joe Elliott's list there, I only dedicated 3 30-minute phone call, 3 topics to him, so I can save more times for the guys I need to dedicate time to, like these middle linebackers that I've fallen behind on, which is a need of mine in this instance with Tennessee. And it's time for visits, so I schedule an interview. I schedule a visit against Buffalo, because and I'm simming these games, so most likely Tennessee, I would hope, would win a simulation against Buffalo, so I'm trying to get all the recruits to come to that Buffalo game. So I can have all the right topics selected, and then have them come to a game, and then have Tennessee win the game, and hopefully get some A-plus visits, and leapfrog some of these schools that are ahead of me. And nice there. Got to go after Michigan a little bit, which is hard to do, and go after Iowa. So let's see, Chris Richardson here. Good-looking fullback, 6'3", 232. Fullback, good-looking linebacker. As Harry Carey would say, good-looking young man. That was a terrible Harry Carey, I apologize. I'm a Cubs fan. Unfortunately, they're terrible. All right, so now I can go after Texas A&M a lot here. It's easy to do. I have higher grades than Texas A&M. And I've been going after them for a couple weeks, but doesn't seem to be making too much of an impact. I think I already scheduled the visit for Week 5 against Buffalo. Week 5 is going to be it's going to be a big week for my recruiting here. Took away 54 points from A&M, and I've yet to get the ×2 phone call. That's because I'm doing Heisman recruiting, and it doesn't come around very often on Heisman recruiting. And I could really use one for some of these guys I've fallen behind. I mean, there's times where if everything goes right, you can get a phone call that's worth about 1,000 points, and those are huge. Those are huge. Now, here's the other quarterback. I think this was the quarterback that I wasn't in his top 10. Now I've worked my way up to number 4. And like I mentioned in the previous video, got it. Pat Ramirez, he's seen the light. He is committed to the Volunteers. Good. So now that leaves me with more time to dedicate to everybody else. So now I have 2 commits, a 4-star defensive tackle, I believe, and that 4-star. What was Pat Ramirez, a wide receiver? We'll see in a second. Yeah, wide receiver. Those weren't my needs. And again, with Tennessee at the start of this season, my only needs were quarterback, middle linebacker, and fullback. Just one of each. Those are my only needs. So focus on the needs and then, target some other players that I want to get. So Johnny Dortch, I think I've been number 1 on his list for a while. And like I said, I'm only dedicating 3 topics as Alabama is yet to make their move. Excuse me. Now here's Darrell Langford, halfback, still behind Florida. Hope I can get a visit soon. I don't know why I paused for so long there. I don't know, maybe one of my kids interrupted me when I was playing. 5-star athlete. Now, I wasn't in B. Wade. I wasn't in his top 10. Now I've worked my way up to number 5. Hopefully I'll be able to get a visit from these guys soon. Still trying to get some things unlocked there. Can't go after Florida. It's too hard to go after Florida on topics. It really is. Oh, there's one thing. Program tradition. Slight edge for Tennessee. A slight edge. Strong fan bases. Can't do anything there. Now, in the last video, there was a wide receiver, the 5-star wide receiver. I can't remember his name. I'll see it when it pops back up here. But the previous week, I had messed up and only offered him, right there, Zach Sutherland. I only offered him 3 topics, and I dropped the 3rd. I believe I was 2nd, and I was only about 140 points behind. For some reason, I made a mistake and only offered him, I think it was 3 or 4, a 3 or 4 topic call. And look, I fell behind. A little further behind Virginia Tech, and then Michigan leapfrogged me, so now I'm behind 2 schools. And I mentioned that in the video. I made a mistake there. I don't know why I only did a 30 or 40 minute phone call. And I'm paying the price because now I'm playing catch up when I was 2nd place the week before and only 160 points behind, I want to say. I was able to go after Virginia Tech a lot. But unfortunately, I think the damage was done because I really botched that last phone call. And here's another thing I don't understand. I don't understand how Michigan leapfrogs me for Zach Sutherland when Michigan didn't even offer them a scholarship. I don't understand how a school can leapfrog you when they haven't even offered a scholarship. Wish that's something they would look at for recruiting because it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I mentioned in the last video, if I have 2 schools going after me, one's actually offered me a scholarship and the other hasn't, I'm probably going to lean towards the school that's actually offered me a scholarship. So I don't understand how Michigan jumps ahead of me without a scholarship offer, but oh well. Jeff Neal, 6'1" athlete. Looks like that guy will be a cornerback, most likely. We got T. Booker there as opposed to Booker T. Travis Booker. Oh, good old Alsip. Let's see. What I got up here? 3 guys for this week. 3rd on the list behind Auburn and Oklahoma. It's got that visit for Buffalo. I think we're in week 4 now. I think next week is week 5, and I'll be setting the topics for the campus visits, selecting the activities for the campus visits. Still have it. Unlock the most. That's good. Knowing that his visit's going to be next week, it was a good thing that I was able to unlock his highest interest level there. Still got 2 guys left. 2 guys with, an hour and a half? So I'll probably give each guy 4 topics here. No, I decided to do 5 for him. Maybe because I was a little further behind on him. I think the reason I decided to do 5 topics for him was the one 5-star athlete that I'm going after. I'm thinking I'm most likely not going to get him because I didn't start off in his top 10, so I'm focusing more on this guy, at the moment. Right, because at this point, getting Brandon Wade is a long shot for me, even though I am working my way up his list. So I'm deciding to spend more time on the guys that I'm more likely to get than him, even though I could still pull him out. Actually, I don't. Like I said, I did this whole in-season recruiting first, recorded that, and I'm doing the voiceover afterwards. So actually, I don't remember if I landed Brandon Wade or not. We'll see. Ooh, suspense. I don't know if I got him. I'm teasing. You got to watch the rest. How will you find out? You can only watch the rest of the video. I'm sure everybody's clicking off right now. So we'll be advancing to the next week here. You see the slight little edit there. If you have the trained eye. All right. So now I think we're in week 5. So I got all the people visiting. And 3 guys that are ready for visits too. So this is a busy week. This is an important week for Tennessee. So I just reordered by interest. I lost that fullback. Amazing. I was number 1 on his list for the first 2 weeks, and all of a sudden Missouri came out of nowhere, leapfrogged me, and snatched him right out from under me. But he's a one-star fullback. I'm not shedding any tears. There's plenty of one-star fullbacks out there. And again, there's always off-season recruiting, and you can always convert a running back. So I reordered by interest, looking at the guys who so Georgia's not threatening yet, so I'm not dedicating much time to Joe Elliott, so I can save time for other guys. Now, at this point, if you had a situation like this where you're pulling away and you had a nice lead on a player like this, I mean, you could dedicate a full hour phone call and lock them up quicker. That's another strategy, too, and then have more time in the future weeks. Moved up to number 4 for Brandon Wade. See, in Georgia Tech, nobody behind me has offered a scholarship, so no one's a real threat yet, so I'm not going to dedicate 60 minutes on a phone call to this guy when I have guys where I need to, catch up with. As I drink some water here. That last video, I was talking for a half hour straight. That was pretty rough. Thought my voice was going to give out on me. Same thing here with good old Johnny Dortch. Still holding off Alabama. Swaying the interest? That's a good point. I think I've changed my mind. Well, that's good. Too bad it doesn't really seem like it does that much, though, when you do sway an interest. No, I've taken over the top spot here, and Vatek still hasn't offered a scholarship to this guy. So then basically the 4 guys that were I'm number 1, I used two of my 10 hours basically on those 4 guys. And now I have 8 hours remaining for the rest of the guys I'm going after. Let's see how many I got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. And now it's perfect now. Now the way I've broken down my time, I have 8 guys left. With 8 hours, I can dedicate an hour to each one of these guys. I've really fallen behind Florida there. He's ready for a visit. So now this is my only chance to even get this guy at this point is to have him come and visit this week. Have to have him come this week against Buffalo. I've fallen too far behind Florida. I don't have the luxury of having him come, 2 or 3 weeks from now. And if you see there, I have his most unlock. It's an A+. I have another very high. It's a B+. I need to try to hopefully have another A+ where it's very high. Hopefully we'll get that one on this call. No. I'll change the topic here. Still didn't get it, unfortunately. But should still have, a good amount of the topics unlocked where it'll be a quality visit. I don't know if I have the most and the very high. We'll see right here. Okay, I got an A+ most. We'll take that one, obviously. The A+ very high. Oh, we do have another A+. That's the best case scenario. You have 3 A+, 2 most, 2 very highs. That's the best you can do. There are some players that will have multiple most interest or have multiple very highs. I was recruiting in one of my online dynasties the other day, and there was a player who had 4 things that were most interest. So that can happen sometimes. Not very often, though. And still haven't gotten the ×2 phone call yet. I could really use one of those, especially in a case like this where I've fallen behind Texas A&M, even though I'm hammering Texas A&M every week. Doesn't seem to be making an impact. So it took away a decent amount of points there. Time for the visit. This will be my last chance to make an impact. 2 very highs and the most. Now he's going to come. Nice to meet you, Coach Cush. Oh, I guess I did create my own coach for this then. Okay, I wasn't sure if I had Tennessee's coach, who I still can't remember the name of. I should have looked that up. Should actually do right now because I have the internet open. So let's see. Tennessee head football coach. Typing this in Google right now. Derek Dooley. I wouldn't have guessed that. I could not remember. They totally escaped my mind. Okay, so I didn't use Derek Dooley. I used my name. So maybe Derek Dooley's coach prestige would have been a little higher than mine, but since I created my coach, now I'm only a D. So I'm having him come week 5. Again, I think I lost this guy 2 weeks ago when I screwed up and only offered him or only called him on a 3 or 4 topic call, and I should have done 6. I don't know why that happened. And I fell behind Michigan, and now I'm still playing catch up to Virginia Tech. And at least he's coming on the visit against Buffalo, so hopefully I'll be able to catch up. That was a winner, 18 points. And I'm trying to get this guy, so I'm surprised I didn't offer him. Did I not offer him the promise? I should have offered the promise there. Looking back on it, 5-star receiver. If you're trying to get a 5-star guy, you throw the kitchen sink at him. There you go. Most very highs. So that's all you can hope for. 180 points behind here on Andre Sharp, cornerback. He's ready for a visit. Hey, come for that Buffalo game. Should be a victory. And see, here's another look at all the very highs. Very high, very high. He has about 4 or 5 very highs, which you don't see very. It happens, but it doesn't happen often. Nothing I could do with that one. Got to go after Arkansas on one thing and Georgia Tech on 2. So he's coming for a visit. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 very highs. And his interest most is my thing's only a B+. So I'm gonna go with the 3 A+ very highs and not go with the B+ most in that for that case. He's got 3 guys left, 3 hours. I've fallen behind on Travis. Don't call me Booker T. Booker. Is he ready for a visit? Oh yeah, he is visiting week 5. So week 5 is a big week for me recruiting wise. So we'll see what happens. The coach prestige. That's a problem. When you do online dynasties, and if you're a commissioner of an online dynasty, you need to establish a rule where everybody creates themselves as a coach, or we all take the current coaches. Because that's the mistake I made in I'm the commissioner of a 12-man dynasty, and the mistake I made is we have half the guys who created themselves, half the guys who stuck with the original coaches, so they have an unfair recruiting advantage. So I think you need to establish one way or the other. Is everybody going to create a coach and use their name or whatever, or is everybody going to keep the real coaches? Because if you have half the guys that create themselves, they're going to have a recruiting disadvantage because they're going to be D for coach prestige, where if you have a guy who plays with Penn State, his coach prestige is going to be an A+, because he kept Joe Paterno's name. So, but then me, I create myself, and I'm a D, so that guy is going to have a recruiting advantage over me, especially if we're in the same conference. It's another four-star middle linebacker. Doing my best, but it doesn't seem to be helping. See, this guy has 2 most. He has 3. One of them is actually only a C+, so I didn't take that one, obviously. Excuse me. Wow. 640. Even though I moved up to 4th, I'm still very far behind first. And is he coming for a visit too? No, he isn't even. I haven't been able to offer him a visit yet. And right now, it's not looking like I'm going to get this guy. And it gets to a certain point in the recruiting process where you need to make a decision. Is it worth wasting time on this guy, or do you punt and just remove him from your board? I'm at the point where I'm about to. I think I'll just dump this guy, even though I moved up to 4th. I'm 640 points behind. You're going into week 5. Are you going to catch up with a prestigious school like Auburn at that point? That's a decision you need to make. And this is a light recruiting class for me. I mean, I'm only right now. I have right now I only have 12 guys left that I'm going after. I mean, there's some years where I'll have 20, 25 guys on my recruiting board, and then you really need to make quicker decisions. Because is it wise to spend 4 or 5 topics on a guy if you're not going to get him? Now look, I assume Tennessee beat Buffalo in the simulation. All my visits were A+ or A-. Caught up a little there to Florida. This one didn't seem to have too much of an impact. I was hoping to leapfrog some guys, but it really still 200 points behind. I think Michigan took over for him. Okay, 40 points behind there. A little bit of an impact on that one. A little bit of an impact on this one. I think I jumped up to second on those guys. Moved up to third there, but now these guys already have soft commits to Michigan and Auburn. And if they've already soft committed to a school after they visited my school, there's no way I'm getting these guys at this point. The only way I think, especially if you're recruiting on Heisman, now here I'm still 640 points behind on him, and I chose to use 6 topics for him. I don't know why. Looking back on it, I don't know why I chose to give him an hour when I'm 640 points. Oh, because it's a visit. Okay, so I still have a chance to catch up, but seeing how much the other visits really didn't seem to help me that much, I'm not very optimistic about Brandon Wade at this point. Don't come to the Georgia game, which is a game Tennessee could lose, so we'll see what the grade is on the visit. But that's another thing when I was talking about just a second ago. To reverse a soft commit, I think the only way it can be done, the only way I've actually done it before, is if he soft commits to a school and then I have that athlete visit that prospect visit that week, and then we have like an A+ visit, and then it flips, then he soft commits to me. And you have to be the second place school. I don't think you can get a soft commit if you're the third or fourth place school and he comes for a visit. That's the only time I've ever done it. I actually beat out, me and my buddy did a 2-man ACC dynasty last season. We're both going after this 5-star wide receiver, and he had a soft commit, and then I flipped it and got the soft commit and then locked him up the next week. He was pretty pissed. He was like, I don't understand the recruiting on this game. It's too hard. It doesn't make any sense. I'm like, no, it makes perfect sense. He came, he visited, he liked what he saw, he changed his mind. But he ended up beating me in the season. I win the recruiting battle, but I lost on the field. So, all right, strong safety, and I'm still first on this guy's list. I don't know why. There's another thing that drives me nuts with the recruiting, and I like the recruiting overall. So these are just minor things, but in this instance, when I'm the only school that's offered you a scholarship, I'm starting to pull away as far as interest, and I still can't schedule guys for a visit, or you haven't committed yet. It's like, what are you waiting on? The fact that I have to keep wasting time every week, the sooner you can get a guy committed, get him in the fold, that's more time to dedicate to other prospects, and it gets annoying when it's pretty obvious I'm going to get this guy. It's not a huge lead on Alabama, but nobody else has offered him a scholarship. Let's see what the situation is with him. Obviously, it's not as big here, but again, I'm the only one that's offered him a scholarship. I don't know why these guys aren't ready to come visit yet at this point. It's week 5, or actually now I think is it week 6 now? It's week 6. What are you waiting on? I'm the only school that's offered you a scholarship. You want to come visit sometime? Check out the campus, get a feel for things. Watch a game against Buffalo, whatever, So I wish these guys like that would commit sooner. Now, look at this. I'm at the top of his list now. B. Estes. Is it Brian Estes? I wasn't in his top 10 at the beginning of the year. Now I've worked my way up to number 1, which is important because quarterback was one of the needs for Tennessee. Yep, Brian Estes. And no one else has offered him a scholarship either. Maybe that's one of the other reasons why I worked my way out from outside the top 10 to number 1. And now that since I was number 1, I just did a quick call there, because I think I have most of his pitches unlocked. And that's another thing you can do to save time. Once you're safely ahead on a guy, you can just do the quick calls, because, again, this can be a long process. This is a 3-part video, hour and a half that I'm doing here. So, towards the end, you want things to go a little quicker. And if you're far ahead on a guy and you have enough time, just give him the 6 topics, do a quick call. That's all you need to do. It's really important to do all the calls at the beginning to unlock the pitches so you can have the best possible campus visit. And then, of course, to have stuff unlocked so you can, if you're behind, you can try to take points away from a school. And the campus visit helped a little bit there, but I'm still pretty far behind Florida. And when you're if you're like 200 points behind a big school like that you can't attack, if you're 200 points behind Louisiana Tech, yeah, you can catch up. If you're 200 points behind Florida, the chances aren't good. Now, this is very close. I think I was 40 points behind Georgia Tech here. All these very highs, very high, very high, very high. No most, I don't think. Now I should be able to go after Georgia Tech Did I say Virginia Tech earlier? I should be able to go after Georgia Tech here. And hopefully leapfrog them next week. What did I take away there? 800, took away 107 points from Georgia Tech there. Now here's Travis Booker, who has a soft commit to Auburn. And at this point, I'm not going to catch up to Auburn. If he's soft committed to Auburn, I'm not going to flip that by just a regular phone call. Unless I got one of those ×2 phone calls, which don't come very often on Heisman recruiting. He's already visited. If I couldn't leapfrog Auburn after an A- visit, I'm not going to leapfrog him at all. But, I'll go down swinging. I'll use my promises and still give him a call. .300 points behind Chris Richardson. And 300 points behind Texas A&M, who, again, I've consistently gone after Texas A&M every week, but it just hasn't mattered. Sometimes it doesn't matter, it seems. And if I always offer the second promise, I always do the red shirt first, and then the, beating a rival second. Now, if I had to do that again, I would have attacked A&M. I don't know why I decided to do Stanford. Yeah, it was a lower grade for Stanford, but it was 1 point behind. I think that's why I did it. But in that instance, I should have kept hammering A&M because I need to prevent. Right now, at that point, Stanford doesn't matter. The second place school doesn't matter. You need to stop him from going to the first place school because as soon as he commits to the first place school, then it doesn't matter. So going after the second place in that situation when I was third. Don't go after the second place school. That's not going to help you. You need to keep going after the first place school. The goal is to prevent him from committing to the school that's at the top of his list. So me going after Stanford there was that doesn't help me. That was a mistake. Actually, it's kind of good that I taped this first and then did the voiceover afterwards because then I can, kind of critique myself and actually point out the things that I did wrong. Like botching this guy. I swear back in whatever it was, week 4 is when I lost this guy. And this guy soft commit to Michigan. Still hasn't even visited Michigan yet. Hey, unlock the most. Has he even... Do I even have a visit? Oh, he already visited. Week 4? I don't recall having this guy come during week 4. I thought I had everybody come for the Buffalo game. I thought week 4 was a bye week for me. Visit was completed during week 4. I don't recall him visiting week 4. That can't be right. No, see, it says week 5. It says